Coming to you from the Spit Studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, this is the Spit Sports Show. Well, that was a tough one to watch. The Canucks and the Rangers played this Saturday morning, morning Pacific time. Coming into this game, both of them were really on the edge of the playoff bubble. Both of them needed this game. The Canucks are chasing down the St. Louis Blues, who have gotten unbelievably streaky lately and have a pretty easy schedule coming up. And the Rangers are looking to track down the Habs, among other teams, in that just convoluted, crowded Eastern Conference playoff race. But this game really came down to a couple of bounces here and there because overall, flatly, the Canucks dominated this game from start to finish. And I'm going to give you my conclusion as to why I thought that happened and what I think this means towards, the later half of this video, but I want to go just step by step here because in the first period, I'm not exaggerating at all when I say Quinn Hughes played a perfect period of ice hockey. Period. He played a perfect period. He really did. I thought he was just perfect controlling play in the zone. Every single time there was a winger on him that even looked like he was taking an extra step towards the blue line to try to check him, he would do his beautiful in and out move where he's able to get to the middle and create a shot. He was perfect in his rushes. He was phenomenal with his breakout passes. He had obviously that ridiculous ankle breaker on Rempe, which created the first goal for Joshua to pot in that rebound. Him and Hronek, but especially him, Hughes played legitimately a flawless period of hockey. There aren't enough adjectives in the English language for me to describe just the grace that he skated with in that period and really the entire night. Quinn Hughes was just jaw-dropping, and we are so blessed here in Vancouver to have him playing for our hockey team. DeBrusk, Suter, and Sherwood, I thought were a huge reason why the Canucks came out and played great in the first period. DeBrusk and Sherwood looked really, really comfortable forechecking together, with Sherwood usually getting that initial check on the defenseman and DeBrusk kind of coming in with his big body to maneuver the play to the side he wanted. And then obviously Suter sitting in the slot area to try to keep that cycle going. I thought that line had really, really cool chemistry. And that forward line playing well, every other forward line playing decent, along with Quinn Hughes having, like I said, one of the greatest periods of hockey I've ever seen someone play. And I'm not exaggerating. Like he had the type of period that only two or three other guys in this entire league could possibly have. And I'm sure you know who those two or three other guys are. He was unbelievable. All of that made it seem like the Canucks should have been up 2, 3, even 4-0 after that first period, but they were only up 1. And in the second, you could tell that the Rangers were starting to get frustrated at the Canucks' pressure because early in that period, Igor Shesterkin gets his feelings hurt. Kiefer Sherwood on the power play, really a nothing kind of jab at the puck when it was still loose and the play was still on. And Shesterkin goes full Brock Lesnar German suplex mode, grabs him by the back and kind of by the neck. The refs call that one easily, and the Canucks get a 5-on-3, at least for a little bit. Now, on the rest of this power play, it doesn't last long because shot comes in from the point. There's some stuff going on in front of the net. Not just Shesterkin. Now the Rangers as a team have their feelings hurt because Shesterkin has their feelings hurt. He's obviously the only reason the Rangers are in this game at this point, by the way. I have to give full credit to him. He was phenomenal today. I didn't think he was, quite as good as all of the shots to all of his saves said he might be. I didn't think the Canucks created quite enough high quality chances, but he was still awesome. But the Rangers get their feelings hurt. They start pushing and shoving in front of the net, even though I swear, if you didn't watch the game, take my word for it, the Canucks weren't doing anything. They were just putting it on the Rangers. They had no reason to, take in the Rangers after the whistle, cross checks and stuff like that. They just ignored it because they were outplaying them. And yet, somehow, Jake DeBrusk gets a penalty for breathing air. Like, I really don't know what the penalty was. Like, he stood there, got choked, probably not choked, but had an arm around his neck, got slashed a couple times, and then went to the box and was the only guy out of that scrum to serve a penalty. Again, the Canucks weren't looking to engage in post-whistle activity at this point. They were dominating the pace of play and were just off of a power play where they gained even more momentum. And yet, DeBrusk goes to the box, whatever. It ended up being no harm, no foul. The Rangers didn't score, but they do end up scoring on just their fourth shot of the game. Not a real skill play whatsoever. It's just kind of a deflection that ends up going in. And what a crazy sport it is, eh? This was, again, the Rangers' fourth shot of the game. The Canucks had more than quadrupled the Rangers' shot total at this point. I think the offensive zone time was something like 20 minutes to, or no, at this point, it was something like 10 minutes to 5 or even more. It was a ridiculous pace of play by the Canucks. But because it's hockey, and if you don't capitalize on your chances, offensive zone possession means nothing. Rangers tie the game, and it's 1-1. And at this point, the Canucks started to get just a little tight. I'm not saying they quit by any means. They still played a really, really good game after this, in my opinion. But it wasn't quite to the same level that it was when they started. And I just want to mention real quick, Niels Hoglander, as much as I respect that he's continued to develop and improve his 200-foot game under Tocchet, and he's taken a lot of crap from the coaching staff. He had a really bad game today. And again, I know he's out, but I have to say what I see. He had a 4-on-2 opportunity when all three Rangers forwards changed at the exact same time. Don't ask me what happened there. And he just shot it right into Shesterkin's chest. Again, those high quality chances, we didn't get enough of them. And I thought Hoglander had a lot to do with that. He had another chance where he was coming in off his off wing on the right side, had a really clear lane on Shesterkin, and again, just shot it right into his chest. And there was another one-timer opportunity where he didn't capitalize. Just not a great game by Hoglander whatsoever. Obviously, that wasn't even close to the reason why we lost. But the Rangers come out in the third absolutely buzzing. They played their best 3-minute stretch of the entire game coming into the third period. And of course, because it's just one of those games for the Canucks, they capitalize on their offensive zone pressure, 2-1 Canucks. And at this point, the Canucks looked a little bit shell-shocked, which is why I was so impressed when Victor Mancini took the game into his own hands. I'm a huge fan of this kid's potential. Not only is he huge, not only is he not afraid to throw his weight around, but this guy can skate. And this isn't like Tyler Myers kind of fast, where if you give him enough time to wind up, he gets some speed going. No, he's like quick. He's got some catch-up speed to him. He has some burst at 6'5" or however tall he is. I believe in Victor Mancini, and clearly he believes in himself because he takes the puck down the right wing, takes it around the net, puts it in front of the net to Drew O'Connor, who has a really, really nice one-timer off of that really, really nice pass, picks up his own rebound and scores. 2-2 game. Again, great skill play by the Canucks to score. Just like Hughes' first goal, dominating play and being rewarded for it. And just, 50 seconds after, the Rangers get a lucky bounce coming off the left wing, goes off Hughes' skate. It's 3-2 Rangers. Again, this was the pattern that just felt like it was all-encumbering of the entire game. All-encompassing, I should say. Not all-encumbering. All-encompassing of the entire concept of this game. The Canucks would outplay the Rangers thoroughly, get a great goal, and then the Rangers would just tie it up off of some seemingly great puck luck, which it just happens sometimes. But again, after it was 3-2, Besser, I called him out last video. You guys should know it. I said he looks like he's been out on this team since Miller was gone. I haven't made a video since he had multi-goal games and back-to-back games, but maybe he saw the Spit Sports Show and thought, you know what, maybe I should pick it up a bit, because he makes an unbelievable play behind the net to shield the puck, walks out in front, and rips it 5-hole on Shesterkin for what is one of the best individual goals I have seen him score in a very long time. No disrespect to Brock Besser whatsoever, but he's usually a guy who needs a good playmaker to get him into a spot. This time, not even close to that. Forechecks himself, takes it himself, rips it home himself. Awesome play. But just 30 seconds later, laugh. Alexis Lafreniere, great pass in the middle. Brodzinski goes short side, and there's 4 goals on 11 shots after that one. So, can I blame Kevin Lankinen for that goal? Yeah, probably. He probably could have used a save there. Nice little short side shot. It was a great place, great placement, but yeah, you probably could have used a save there. And if you look at 4 shots on 11 goals, you probably would think that Lankinen was the main reason that the Canucks lost. But if you actually watch the game, like, besides that 4th goal, what's the one you want him to get? Like, that bounce off Hughes' skate. Again, there was a weird tip and an empty net goal. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't put really any of this game on Lankinen. It really just came down to some bounces. And the hockey gods, they can be cruel sometimes. And speaking of which, of course, JT Miller wraps up the game with an empty net goal, and the Canucks lose in a game where they had the most shots that they've had all year. And the reason why this game is so frustrating is because it feels like the luck finally caught up to the Canucks. And here's what I mean by that. Like I said, it was the most shots they had in a game all season. They had a 96% on the deserve to win-o-meter. Again, I don't always love the deserve to win-o-meter, but it is a good catch-all for the pace of play and who is driving it. The Canucks 100% dominated that game. They had an expected goals percentage in this game of 75% as a team. That's just next level domination. Like, Lekkerimäki, I thought really looked good. He's got to go to the gym, but I thought he looked really good with the puck. Like I said, Hughes was ridiculous. I'm going to talk about him a bit more later. Hronek was awesome. I love Marcus Pettersson. He never gets talked about. You know why? Because he never does anything wrong on defense. He had a great tie-up in front of the net when the Rangers had a 2-on-1 opportunity. They didn't get a shot off because of him. He's constantly making the right breakout pass, and him and Myers is working. And it's awesome to see. But this is why every single game matters so much in a hockey season. And more so than an NBA season or an MLB season with 162 games, you never know what the puck luck is going to be. You have no clue. And there have been so many games this year where the Canucks have come out flat, but they've stolen a point by getting into overtime or the shootout, or they've stolen a win or two here or there. I guess it finally caught up to them. Like, the Canucks this year are actually, believe it or not, they're top 5 this season in above expected goals for at 5-on-5, which basically means, like, they're not generating a lot of opportunities, but they are scoring at a rate that is much higher than they should be. And I guess, again, it evens out after a while in an 82 game season. And this was one of those games where the Canucks got none of those bounces. 0. And it happens, which sucks because this was, again, a huge game for the Canucks' playoff chances and the rest of their season outlook. But before I get into the future, I want to stick at this with this game for a second, because Quinn Hughes against the Rangers overall, I talked about his first period, but I have to talk about his overall game because he did not slow down. In the third period in particular, when the Canucks were down 3-2 and then 4-3, wow, you could just tell he was just refusing to let his team lose. Every single time he rushed the puck, the Rangers looked terrified. The fans held their breath. Tonight, he had 28 minutes skated, 9 shots on goal, 9 individual scoring chances, which means he set them up by himself. He obviously had the assist that I talked about. Vancouver outchanced the Rangers 16-2 in his 5-on-5 shifts. 16-2, 5-on-5. And when he was on the ice, the Canucks had a 1.9 expected goals for. If you don't know what expected goals for is, just like look up that stat on Money Puck and then go back through just random games and look at what different superstars do from game to game to get a grasp of what 1.9 means. But it's a silly, silly number. This was a all-time performance from Quinn Hughes here, which unfortunately is going to be forgotten. And it came the day that The Athletic published an article where they determined through different numbers the NHL's first pairing defenseman goal differential. So what that means is obviously every team has a defensive pair or a defenseman who is the number one guy. And they took his stats against the rest of the team and looked at their expected goal differential 5-on-5 and basically how much impact that top defenseman or defensive pairing has on the team. Understand? Following? If not, trust me, you'll understand it as soon as I read off who's in the lead. So, leading the league by a mile in this stat is the Vancouver Canucks. Their first pairing, which is literally, it says in the article, Hughes with anybody, but primarily Hronek, is at 0.95 goal differential 5-on-5 when Hughes is on the ice. That is by far the most for any team. The second most is the Tampa Bay Lightning with Victor Hedman at 0.87. And then behind them is the Capitals with John Carlson at 0.86. And then it goes Makar and Devon Taves. It's every defensive pair you would think of, but all of them are crumpled into this 0.87 to 0.84 range for most of the top 8-ish. And then there's the Canucks up at 0.95. Like, this guy Hughes, man, is the main reason why I'm in love with watching Canucks hockey this season and in past seasons. Like, if he wasn't on this squad, it would be more than I would obviously still be watching every game, but like my enjoyment level watching and my happiness feasting my eyes on Vancouver Canucks hockey would be just nowhere near the level it is right now. And I think I speak for a lot of Canucks fans when I say that, which is why it's so concerning, this loss and what it does for the Canucks' playoff future. Because with this loss, they've dropped down to a 19% chance to make the playoffs. In other words, there is an 81% chance this is a wasted season of one of the greatest defensemen of all time's prime. And when I say one of the greatest defensemen of all time, every single stat and points number that he's hit at this point on this pace makes it seem that he is going to end up in that Ray Bork, Paul Coffey conversation. Obviously, it seems like Bobby Orr is just kind of in a different stratosphere in terms of legendary defensemen, but Hughes is coming up there. Now, when it comes to Hughes, I don't know a lot about him personally. Seems like a pretty quiet, reserved hockey nerd from what I can grasp. But I do know about all-time great athletes. And I do know that when you have a season like the season Hughes is having, and it doesn't translate into team success, that does not sit well with any of them. Obviously, if you look at the NBA, it's a huge reason why, LeBron left Cleveland, why Durant left OKC. In the NHL, it's a lot less like that, but that's usually because when you have a player as great as Hughes, your team is just kind of automatically awesome. Like, you saw that with the Oilers at the start of McDavid's career. Obviously, they were really, really bad. But as McDavid just became the best player in the world, the rest of the team just kind of rose up with him. That hasn't happened so far with Hughes. And you're kind of seeing it in Chicago with Bedard too. Now, thankfully, we don't have to worry about this for a little while because maybe the two best decisions the Canucks have made in the past 20 years have been drafting Quinn Hughes and signing Quinn Hughes long term right away because he is signed until the end of the 2027 season. So you've got another 2 years with him. But still, you have to keep in mind that your franchise guy is in his prime right now. Like you only get one Quinn Hughes in 50 years of your franchise, more than likely, unless you're what's a team that's had two franchise guys quick, like Lemieux and Crosby, unless you're the Penguins, probably. That's the only team that I can think of that transitioned from franchise guy like instantly. You really only get one of these guys a generation. Management, you got to get your head out of your ass, or this guy is going to leave. And the disaster that would be around here would equal like Cleveland LeBron leaving levels. There's no doubt about it. Like, this is a wildly disappointing year. Even when everything goes right and the Canucks play an unbelievable game, it goes wrong because they just lose. So at this point, the Canucks are more than likely going to have to win 8 of their last 12 games to give themselves a shot. But the thing is, like, that might not even be enough because St. Louis has such an easy schedule coming up. Like I mentioned last video, they have the easiest schedule left in the NHL remaining, according to Tankathon. Right now, as I'm speaking, they're playing the Blackhawks. Of course, they're up 3-1 right now. But the rest of the Blues schedule looks like Predators twice, Red Wings, Penguins. They play Utah and the Kraken. Like, bunch of just cakewalk games, whereas the Canucks, their next game is the Devils. They have to play the Jets. They've got the Stars, the Avs, the Golden Knights twice. Like, man, this was a bad loss. They're in great shape, St. Louis is, to just run away, really, with the second wild card race. So I hope you're happy, Aquilini. Again, Aquilini, Vancouver Canucks owner, the guy who publicly stated that he wanted to make the playoffs this year, even though everything said, both logically and from a business perspective, blow the team up. Because when you made the decision to sit on your ass at the trade deadline, there were only one of two options. You either missed the playoffs or you had a first round exit. That was it. If you made a move at the trade deadline to blow it up, you would have assets to deal with. Your fans would be way more excited for the future because UFAs might not walk for nothing. And you can look to next season with Pettersson, away from all the Miller drama and be like, okay, we're hitting the reset button. But they decided to go and try to make the playoffs without acquiring any rental pieces, even though all season they had been maneuvering the cap with the AHL and NHL send-downs and call-ups to have as much space as possible for a potential rental acquisition at the deadline, and they didn't do anything. Like, that trade deadline, I can't get over how inept the decision-making was. You spent all year acquiring cap space for this exact scenario. We're on the edge. We want to make the playoffs, or we want to make a cup run, whatever situation you're in, and they just didn't pull the trigger. They're just going to waste the empty cap space on their roster for what? For what? Why would Quinn Hughes want to stay here? I don't know. Anyways, I've gone too long. Thank you all so much for watching, as always. This was a disappointing one. Please let me know what you thought in the comments section below. I am small enough as to where I can respond to all comments, and I love talking about sports, so drop something down there. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed what you saw today. Please subscribe if you really enjoyed it. Spit Sports Show, just over 400 subscribers. Big things happening on the channel. And as always, I'll see you all in the next. Peace out. Love you guys.